The wait for love. Ryan Parker was the guy everyone liked, but no one ever loved, not in the way he longed for. At 28, he had been on more bad dates than he cared to count. Friends and family told him he was just too nice, or that the right person would come along eventually. These words were like needles poking at an open wound, and each failed relationship attempt deepened the scar. He wasn't unattractive. He was tall, had a warm smile, and eyes that sparkled with kindness. He had a decent job at a tech firm, a supportive circle of friends, and hobbies that kept him busy. Yet, for some reason, love always eluded him. Ryan tried everything. He joined dating apps, attended speed dating events, and even let his friends set him up on blind dates. One time, he met a woman named Sarah, who laughed at all his jokes and seemed genuinely interested. They went out 3 times before she ghosted him. Another time, he hit it off with a woman named Mia at a mutual friend's wedding. They danced the night away, and Ryan thought this could be it. But the next day, she texted him, "You're really sweet, but I don't think this is what I'm looking for." It always ended the same way. "You're sweet, but..." The but crushed him every time. One evening, Ryan sat at his favorite coffee shop, nursing a cappuccino and scrolling through a dating app he swore he would delete, but never did. That's when he saw her, Emily Dawson. Her profile caught his attention immediately. She wasn't overly flashy. Her photos showed her hiking, reading, and laughing with friends. Her bio read, bookworm, coffee enthusiast, and amateur photographer. Looking for someone to share adventures and lazy Sundays with. Ryan hesitated before swiping right. What's the point? He thought, but something about her felt different. He swiped, and to his surprise, it was a match. They messaged back and forth for a week, and Ryan found himself smiling more than he had in months. Emily was witty, intelligent, and had a warmth that came through even in text. She suggested they meet in person, and Ryan agreed, though his stomach churned with nerves. They chose a quiet cafe downtown. Ryan arrived early, as he always did, and tried to calm his racing heart. When Emily walked in, she was even more beautiful than her photos. She had curly auburn hair, freckles that dotted her cheeks, and a smile that seemed to light up the room. "Ryan," she said, her voice warm and inviting. He stood, almost knocking over his coffee in his haste. "Emily." "Hi." The date went better than Ryan could have imagined. They talked about books, their favorite coffee blends, and their shared love for hiking. For the first time in a long while, Ryan felt like he didn't have to try so hard. After their third date, Ryan was cautiously optimistic. He didn't want to get his hopes up, but Emily seemed different from anyone he'd met before. She laughed at his jokes, asked thoughtful questions, and even seemed excited to see him. But Ryan's insecurities crept in. One evening, after a particularly wonderful dinner date, he couldn't help but ask, "Why me? Why now?" Emily frowned, tilting her head. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been trying to find someone for years. And then you show up, and everything feels too good to be true." Emily reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "Ryan, maybe it's not about why it didn't work before. Maybe it's about why it works now." Her words stayed with him. Things weren't perfect, though. One night, Ryan made a silly joke about Emily's cooking, not realizing she was sensitive about it. She laughed it off initially, but later admitted it had hurt her feelings. I want to be good at this," she said softly, staring at the plate of half-eaten pasta. Ryan immediately felt terrible. "Emily, I didn't mean it like that. Your cooking is great. I was just being dumb." It was their first real argument, but it didn't end with slammed doors or icy silence. Instead, they talked it through, and Ryan realized how much he valued a relationship built on communication. As the months passed, Ryan and Emily grew closer. They met each other's friends, shared childhood stories, and even went on a weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains. During a hike, Emily tripped on a root and twisted her ankle. Ryan insisted on carrying her back to the cabin, even though she laughed and told him she could hop her way there. "You're ridiculous," she said as he hoisted her onto his back. "And you're stubborn," he replied, grinning. That night, as they sat by the fireplace, Emily rested her head on his shoulder and said, "You know, I wasn't sure about dating again when I met you, but you make me feel safe, like I can be myself." Ryan's chest swelled with emotion. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen. One evening, Ryan invited Emily over for dinner. He spent hours preparing her favorite dish, lasagna, and even set the table with candles. As they ate, he nervously reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "Emily," he began, his voice trembling. "I know this is sudden, but—" Emily's eyes widened, and Ryan quickly clarified. No, not that. Not yet. It's just this." He opened the box to reveal a simple bracelet with a small charm, a book and a coffee cup, symbolizing their shared love. Emily laughed, tears glistening in her eyes. "You had me worried there for a second." As she slipped the bracelet on, she said, "Ryan, you're the most thoughtful person I've ever met. I'm so glad you didn't give up." Ryan didn't magically transform into someone new when he met Emily. He was still the same awkward, kind, and overly considerate guy he'd always been. But with Emily, he didn't feel like he had to be anything else. And as he held her hand that night, he realized something important. All those years of heartbreak and rejection weren't wasted. They had led him here, to a love that was worth the wait.